Good morning, friends. This is Sagar here, and today we have Siddharth Prabhakar with us. Hi, Siddharth.
Hi, Sagar. So nice to be here.
Yeah, it is really nice to have an entrepreneur from this part of the city, and even I'll be biased if I say that having from my town or Belapur, he stays in Belapur, and he's been an entrepreneur, seasoned entrepreneur. Is founder of an initiative called as the Floating Campus, where he has about a team size of 450 plus, and he has come up with an interesting initiative called as masterschool.in, and which is, I think, India's one of the prominent platforms for aspiring you know aspiring youngsters to pursue programs on acting, direction, singing, and even business. So great to have you.
Wonderful to be here. Trust me, absolutely happy to be here with you, Sagar.
Yeah. So I think I'll have a lot of questions with you.
Yes.
But first thing I would like to ask you is that while we do any kind of business, right? Your relationship building, your planning, structuring is very important.
True.
But no one can discount the fact that the human element is so important. And what I have personally seen you in the last few months is that you always add that human element to your interactions. So how can one improve on that?
Okay. Point number one, whenever I came into business, I never thought of money. Correct. Money was absolutely a byproduct of what I did. It was always and always about interacting with people, always and always, making new friends, always and always about, having these connections, together. Even today, I have like friends from the business community who are with me for the past 10 years, and we are still that great friends. Sometimes we have the things we have done with them did not even work out or even failed, correct? But we still have that human connection. And when you don't think of money, when we are not selfish enough, I think only then the human connection happens. And that's not very difficult if you think of it.
It is also said that fame or money is the result of the efforts that you take, and I think you rightly pointed out. And one interesting thing which I would like to know, and I think which startups would also like to know, is the fact that while you want to grow, you need to have meaningful people supporting your initiative.
Yes.
And any business is an initiative in itself. At the end, the intent might be to earn money,
correct,
but then you end up being contributing socially as well.
Yes.
Correct. So, how did you got stakeholders such as Mr. Nawazuddin Siddiqui, Mr. Shan, and Mr. Madhur Bhandarkar work for a cause? Could you share with the viewers?
Absolutely. I think.
Sorry to cut you. Just before that, also talk about what masterschool.in is, followed by the answer to this question.
Very true. We have been taking workshops across India for the past 10 years. So I personally take workshops even today. Then I have my trainers taking workshops across India. And Sagar, what we realized was students have a lot of potential. Correct? They have potential in art forms like singing and dancing and acting and direction. But there is no absolute one platform wherein they can learn from the direct masters. The only option they have is that they can learn from the internet in bits and pieces, or they can learn from people in their local community, correct, who may not necessarily be that passionate or that knowledgeable, correct. So what we thought was that why not approach passionate superstars who are great with their profession and who are great with teaching as well, right? And of course, meeting them, pitching it to them was very difficult, correct? Because there are a lot of barriers. There's so many people that you have to actually go through, to meet them. But then once you meet them and you get that 10-minute slot, and in that 10 minutes, if you can just explain it to them, why are you doing it? And what's the passion behind it? And if you speak money there, then it's completely game over. Correct? But if you can make them understand, look, this is my 10-year plan, or this is my 20-year plan, and this is what I want to really create, then I think it's very easy for us to convince them.
So, using the same learning, right? How can the aspiring entrepreneurs who obviously are great when it comes to their technical skills, might be great even with their communication skills,
yes,
but then putting that message across, as you rightly said, if you talk only about money, things aren't going to work.
Yes.
So how do they approach investors? The reason being is that most of the times, and I think which is fair enough, startup founders tend to share with investors that, with this particular product, we are going to earn X amount of money,
Yes.
and you would get an Y amount of money, right?
True.
But then how, through your learnings, can you just quickly share a storyline or a timeline where, they could approach to the investors and get that collaboration happening?
Absolutely. What I personally believe, Sagar, is that to make money, you don't need money. Because I know throughout my growing years, I was taught that if you want to make money, you have to have money. Trust me, that is not the truth. If you want to make money, you have to have not money but courage. Correct? And this courage comes from a long-term vision. Most of the time, when people approach the investors, you're going to find two types of investors. One is those investors who's going to say that, look, 1 year and 2 years, and I want my money doubled or I want my money back. And then there are going to be investors who say that, look, I'm with you. Take your time, but let's build this into something very beautiful, something very great. Now meeting those kind of investors, you have to make sure that your vision is very clear, right? And with vision, I don't mean things that you just say out of the blue. For example, let's say if I go to an investor and say, with master school, I want to replace the entire school industry. No, it's not going to happen. That's a very absurd kind of a statement. But if I say that, look, with master school, I plan to have at least 100 people every year on the platform, 100 super masters who are very passionate about their art form and who want to share their knowledge with the world. Now that's a vision. Correct. How many courses we sold, what we sold, sell it for, and how many users we have on board, it's a very different thing altogether. You are going to have investors who will speak about it, but then there are going to be investors who will understand your vision and understand that, yes, having 100, 200 superstars on the platform is going to create a platform to reckon with. So I guess that's the answer. You have to first understand that you don't need money always to grow, or to make money, and you have to have a very clear vision when you pitch to your investors and have good investors with you. I have started companies with bad investors, have lost money, have lost relationships, become frustrated. So having good investors at the right time is most important. Yeah.
Could you also, on this note, share any of the personal challenges that you have faced as an entrepreneur, as an early stage entrepreneur? Because a lot of viewers who would be watching would be the early stage entrepreneurs.
True.
So, any sort of failure story or anything that you would like to share where entrepreneurs could relate to and sort of allow themselves to grow.
Absolutely. I tell you something very interesting. Good you asked this. When I started off 10 years back, I was the only employee in my company. And the way to grow about was I used to go to schools and colleges and say that, look, I'm going to take a free career counseling session for your students and your parents, right? By the way, Sagar, we are absolute masters when it comes to career counseling. Correct? Almost 5,000 schools and colleges across India, we every year have career counseling happening through floating campus. So what we used to do is that I used to go to a school and college and say that, look, I'll take free career counseling, but I want the students and the parents together. And if Siddharth Prabhakar takes career counseling free of cost also in front of, let's say, 200 parent and students, Sagar, I was 100% sure that 50% of them, that's about 100 students, will come for my personal career counseling, paying about 5,000 rupees, So every session of mine was about 5 lakh rupees for me at that time, and that was a great way of leveraging as such. Now, here is the challenge. To convince the school that I'm going to take a free career counseling session was actually very difficult. People know there are no free lunches, and the principals are smart enough to understand why is he taking the free counseling session. So even if I was giving this free of cost, students and rather the principals and the management was not very happy about it, was not very open to it. So the absolute challenge here was to tell them what value do I bring. So the only solution was, I was the only career counselor at that time, Sagar, to have 100 slide PPT explaining different career options available, and then when I showed that PPT rather to the principal, then it was very convincing. But then making that 100 slide PPT itself took me, I guess, about a month's time, But then if you have a way around something like that, which adds a lot of value to the end user, then your journey becomes more easy.
Okay. So thank you for giving that perspective.
Yeah.
Once you're a serial entrepreneur, right, you're working on a lot of initiatives, and and giving it their due respect and place in your day-to-day business functions.
Yeah.
There are a lot of times where you face failures and ambiguity.
Yeah.
So how do an early stage startup founder deal with those failures and ambiguity?
I think, Sagar, great question. It's all in the mindset. Correct. You have to have a mindset that I am not God's special person. I am gonna fail like all the other entrepreneurs. If you see the autobiographies or if you read on the internet about all the entrepreneurs, right from Mark Zuckerberg to Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and all the XYZs or the Indian entrepreneurs, their journey started with something else and ended somewhere else. In between, there was lots of failures, lots of bankruptcies, even, right? So you have to understand, even I'm gonna go through that phase. I'm not the God's special guy that God would say, oh, everything you touch is gonna turn into gold. No, it's not gonna turn into gold. The moment you have that mindset, then it's easier for you to accept failures. It's easier for you to understand that, fair enough, this is gonna happen. I have a tough situation. Let me find a solution to it and move around.
That's a very good perspective. One challenge that I have personally observed in the ecosystem in Mumbai as well as Navi Mumbai is the fact that a lot of startup founders aren't able to get a right co-founder to work with them.
True.
Now, one way could be obviously have someone as a co-founder, because I think technical and creative skills are parallels.
Yes.
Obviously, there would be few people who would have both. But then, for a long-term perspective, if a co-founder is working, it really works.
True.
Now, one thing that I learned from you is that you can also have co-partners who collaborate for a specific role or a cause, and then they play their part, and then you be the main soul of the driving force of the initiative. Correct?
True.
So, could you share your perspective on both the cases of how do someone, so for example, and the reason why I'm asking you this question is since you have collaborated with some amazing talented people in the industry, so how could they get a co-founder first, and then if not, they're not able to get, how do they ensure that still their goal and their cause is moving ahead?
Absolutely. Point number one, this is a very personal opinion, but all the businesses I did with my co-founders or partners have bombed and have tanked, correct? So I have decided that I would never have a co-founder, correct? But then yes, I believe in the power of co-founders. All the entrepreneurs that I meet, at least the ones that I met in America, right, believe that you have to have a co-founder, correct? At least
it is said that the magical number of having a co-founder is three, not even two.
Not even two. True. And it's always great to have a technical co-founder, correct? Because if you're starting something online or if you're starting something that is related to the technology, then it's always great to have a technical co-founder as such. So I'm not against to the idea, but just my perspective. Now coming back to the question, how do you find technical co-founders? It's very difficult. There's something that was said by Elon Musk. You have to be lucky. You sometimes have to be very lucky. You have to be at the right place at the right time, to find the right kind of people. And you should have the capacity to share your vision with them. It's not always the money. I've seen people as co-founders who have left jobs worth 3 lakhs and 4 lakhs joining a startup which will not even pay them 20,000 rupees or 30,000 rupees, and that's the kind of a risk people are ready to take today if they share your vision as such, right? So there are many places, I guess. SIBA is a great place where you have entrepreneurs, and all these co-working spaces where you have great entrepreneurs. It's very easy nowadays to connect with these people and find someone who shares your vision or shares your passion. So that's one way of doing it. Now, for me, if you see people from my clan, right, we believe in co-partnering. Correct. Now, what I mean by co-partnering is that even today for masterschool.in, we don't have our own digital media as such, right? Because I feel it's a very tough place to be in as such. So why not I give it to someone who does it for a living, right? So what we do is that rather than hiring 10, 15 people into my digital marketing team, we partner with great companies and we tell them that, look, you be our digital marketing people. And most of the companies, the best of the best companies are doing that right now. And then they take over the entire onus. Now again, finding those people, sharing your vision, understanding how good they are and how passionately they will do it for you is little difficult, but not impossible, I guess.
So this
Yeah.
comes from the service side.
True.
But what about the initiative building side? So for
Okay.
example,
Uh-huh.
there would be startup founders. I think co-partnering is a great suggestion and a great input, and that's how I think you have managed to build a masterschool.in.
True.
How do then they approach their conversations with stakeholders so that they could co-partner and come for a cause, and then they obviously have their own responsibilities towards the similar initiative for a long-term goal. So your thought?
Very true. I guess you will have to understand what the other partner is also looking for. Okay? Because even he would want something out of that initiative or that collaboration, right? If you are able to provide that, and I think if you're able to provide that in a very honest way, without hiding anything, without keeping some things with you, then it will definitely happen. I will tell you one example. We did a small interview with Gitanjali Mishra. Correct? She is a television super soap queen as such. 26 serials we did with her, and we said, "Ma'am, why don't you do one thing? Let's do an interview, and you put about masterschool.in, in your post as such." She was very happy to do it. She did not even ask us what was the commercials involved. She was wanting that masterschool.in. This is what she said. She said that when I started my journey, I did not have something like this, right? So I'm very happy to post it. Just that one post of her got us 1,200 registrations, and we were like, how come this happened? We were expecting maybe 50 registrations or 60 registrations. 1,200 registrations in just 4 days. Now, that's what happens when someone connects on a very honest level, on a very passionate level as such.
Very good. That's a very enlightening perspective. Thank you for sharing that. Could you also guide us through the different programs that masterschool.in provides?
Yeah.
And one question that I'm sure all the startups would relate is, what is the USP of masterschool.in versus other platforms? A straight question.
Good. I will answer this first. The first USP of masterschool.in is we have Bollywood superstars. If you go to other platforms, you have this American Hollywoodish superstars which talk in Hollywoodish terms and techniques and equipments which we cannot relate to, because those cameras and those techniques are not even used in India today. So first thing, we have the Bollywood superstars. Second thing, the courses are completely in Hindi. Correct? You won't believe, Sagar, it took us 3 months just to understand, should we make it in English, should we make it in Hindi, should we make it in English. So it's majorly, I would say, Hindi 80% and 20% of it is in English. So it's more of English, I would say.
So question here, how did you arrive to that thought? Because sometimes even startups are in two minds before taking any decision. So how do you convince yourself?
Very true. Two things we did. We ran some free fake Facebook ads. Okay, so we said Nawazuddin Siddiqui teaching acting in Hindi, Nawazuddin Siddiqui teaching acting in English. And then most
it's not a fade. I think it's just a kind of a
survey
perspective
ad as such. And then you won't believe, even the people from Bandra, Khar, Bandstand, Andheri, Lokhandwala, the soap, or even Nepean Sea Road, because on Facebook you get the entire demographic as such. They were the ones who clicked on Hindi. Right? And we were very surprised. We were hoping that these people would say, oh, we want it in English as such. But then those were the ones, oh no, we want it in pure Hindi.
Because don't you think Nawazuddin Siddiqui's dialogues in Hindi were famous? That could be one of the reasons.
Maybe.
But yeah.
No, not only Nawaz. We did it with Shan as well, and we did it with Madhu Bhandarkar as well. That do you want his course in Hindi or do you want his course in English? And majority of them was Hindi as such. And the second part was, of course, if you see India being a very Hindi-speaking nation, right? And we always thought that we are going to target India and then Pakistan and Bangladesh and Malaysia, or the Hindi-speaking belt as such, And then again, not being an English cuts away our competition completely. So we are the only people in that zone. We are the pioneers in that zone. So we are very happy about it. And I'm so sorry about your next question.
So I think you answered the USP of the program.
Oh yeah, okay.
Which I feel is a language barrier that you have cut across, and
True.
I think I've made it more relevant to most of the audiences, because I think it makes sense. I think this is my understanding. I'm just sharing because at the end of the day, a lot of work is happening in the local language, correct?
Yes.
So I think their interpretation of certain learnings in Hindi would, especially when it comes to acting, would help them better.
Actually.
Is also I personally.
I strongly agree.
Yeah. Followed by a quick gist of your personal program on the platform, that is the business aspect, and what if and how can startup founders, investors, or be it any aspiring entrepreneur leverage that program on
Absolutely. Sagar, last time I told you I run about 8 different companies. Correct, and all those companies came one after the other. It was never that I launched all the 8 companies together. So the way to build those 8 companies was only one. You have to build a very strong community, right? So when we launched Floating Campus and Career Counseling, we had a very strong community of almost 3 to 4 lakh people who used to follow us, who were on my mailing list and all. So when we launched the next business, it was just so easy for us to put those business across to them, and I would not say that we got success from day one, but then yes, it became more easier. Possibly in 3 months time, every of my business was break even. We were seeing traction, and the last 2 businesses that I launched, because we have a community now of almost 1 million, that is 10 lakh people on our mailing list. One mail and we know whether this business will do well or will not do well. Correct. Same with masterschool.in. We launched just 2 months back, but we already have 16,000 paid users, and we are very proud about it because it's a difficult market. It's an online market selling online courses, right? So that's what I teach in my business course. How can you very honestly build a community, correct? Because I believe in one thing. If you just have 1,000 true fans, that's enough for you to launch any business. Right? For example, you have 1,000 true fans who love you, who will buy anything from you. So every 4 months, you pitch a product to them that is, let's say, 500 rupees worth, and I'm going to make 5 lakh rupees in that 4 months. How's the idea? Right? Not my idea, someone else's idea. I'm just copying it, right? But then just imagine you building a community of not 1,000, but 10,000 or 50,000 people. It becomes so easy for you to launch something that you're passionate about. It becomes so easy for you to launch a product, or it becomes so easier for you to launch a business model that you're passionate about. So my program majorly deals with how to create a community, and how to leverage your business accordingly.
Great. So thank you, Siddharth. Thank you for sharing all the interesting perspectives on collaborations, on your own startup journey, and how could aspiring entrepreneurs, startup founders, and investors leverage your knowledge and use in their day-to-day businesses. And one thing that motivated me to have Siddharth, obviously my initial introduction, this from Navi Mumbai, but definitely I am so happy to share that in the last couple of years, a lot of knowledge sharing is happening in the startup domain. And I think since as SIBA, we believe in enabling startup ideas, startup founders. So I think it is a great way to all the folks in my network to go to masterschool.in and just check all the programs. You never know, if you maybe today you are thinking about doing business, but when you go to the program website, you would like to take up an acting program. And I think what I have learned, I think most of the programs that you have are pocket friendly as well.
It's very
yeah. And I think go to that program, register yourself, and then get back to us. We would be more than happy to hear you out, listen to your feedback, be it positive, be it critical feedback. Do keep sharing. I think that is what
absolutely.
we will evolve. And so thank you everyone for joining us in the morning, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Sagar.